The Messenger is possibly one of the most challenging films I've ever watched. Not because it's not good, quite the contrary. And I say this as somebody who doesn't have any family in the military. I don't know anybody directly who's in the military. I can only imagine how brutal this must be to watch if you can relate directly. And honestly, I got emotional pretty much all of the way throughout. And it's a very difficult watch, but I think, in my opinion, they did a very good job with this. I'll talk about the narrative in a moment, of course. I'd love to know what you think of this, both if you're coming from my perspective, but also if you do have family in the military, if you can relate to this, what was the experience like? Because I can only imagine. This was released in 2009. It's directed by Oren Moverman, and it's written by Moverman and Alessandro Cohen, and we have a cast including Ben Foster as Staff Sergeant Will Montgomery and Woody Harrelson as Captain Tony Stone. And Will is assigned to casualty notifications, which is not a term I was aware of before watching this film, but it's where they go to tell people that their loved one has been killed in action. And as soon as I realised that's what it was about, I figured this was going to be a difficult watch. And I was not prepared for just how many people they have to visit and break this news to. And it's partly about that and how they cope with this. And there are a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm assuming it's generally accurate, but please feel free to share information if you have any thoughts. But there are so many things that they're not meant to say. They're not allowed to touch the people they're telling this to, which seems cold and callous, but I can understand why this would be the case. And it seems like, honestly, one of the worst jobs in the world. I can't imagine anybody would want this job. And we also have, I don't want to go into too much detail about this, IMDb gives a little bit more information than this, but it also focuses on one particular individual who they visit to have to give this information to, and her reaction to this. It was not as expected, or I guess it was different to how other people have responded. But we do have a variety of responses. A lot of it is very similar. People are obviously distraught and angry, and it's horrible. It's an absolutely horrible experience, but it's so eye-opening and so powerful and so well done. And obviously it looks at how people are affected when they're told this news, but it also looks at what Will's experience is like with having to take on this duty. And as I said, part of it focuses on a woman called Olivia, but I won't say too much about that. It's a very difficult watch, very, very difficult. We have periods of respite, don't get me wrong. There are moments when it's a little less heavy. We absolutely need those moments, otherwise I genuinely don't know if I would have made it through the whole film. I also feel like if somebody watched this, if they were considering enlisting, I feel like they wouldn't enlist. I feel like, not that other films, some films do glorify war, but showing the emotional impact that somebody going to war and getting killed has on everybody else, I feel like it would just be impossible to go to war after watching this, knowing that people back home could go through this excruciating, agonizing experience. So it's very interesting. I think it's very thought-provoking. I think it could start and generate a lot of conversations, and I never want to watch it again. I never ever want to watch The Messenger again, not because it's not good. Quite the opposite. I think they had a mission. I think they wanted to set out to show these different perspectives and just how brutal this side of war can be. And I think they did a really great job of it. From my amateur perspective, as I said, I don't have any direct experience with this. If anybody wants to share any information on that, I will be happy to listen. But for now, I will recommend The Messenger, but it's not an easy watch. It's very, very challenging, but I'd say it's worth it.